Good afternoon. This is Lloyd Hedges, Aircraft Coordinator for the T-34 Sponsor Group. We recently added some Garmin GI-275 gauges to the front cockpit of the T-34, and this is a self-produced training video to help explain the functions of these new gauges. The first thing you'll notice is that the Garmin's GI-275 gauges are hardwired to the battery. So we will turn the battery on and you'll see the gauges start to come to life. When you go to start the engine, it's perfectly fine to have these gauges powered. Okay, you can now see that the Garmin 275s have aligned. We'll start with the attitude indicator. You can see the brown ground and the blue sky. Over on the left, there's airspeed. Over on the right, there's altitude. At the bottom, you've got a compass rose. You'll see localizer and glide slope. You can also see a pre-select for altitude. Now I activated that by pressing on it. Over on the left, you've got a pre-select for airspeed. And again, you activate them by pressing on them. In the bottom right corner is the altimeter. Again, you activate it by pressing on it, and you can change the altimeter setting. If you want to go to standard, press the button on the small knob on the lower left corner, and it will automatically go to standard if we ever fly that high. Another feature of the Garmin 275 is this little rectangle at the bottom of the pointer triangle. The bottom rectangle slides back and forth in flight, acting very similar to the ball on a turn indicator or turn coordinator. You can use the little sliding rectangle as the same as the ball. If it's out to the right, step on the right rudder. If it's out to the left, step on the left rudder. Because of all of the data on the attitude indicator, it is the primary instrument. If the attitude indicator fails, it should automatically switch all the data over onto the HSI, making it the primary instrument showing the attitude indicator and all of its data. If it does not automatically transfer, this red button switch over here, you move it to backup. And as you see, now all of the attitude indicator data is displayed on the second, formerly HSI, indicator. This will probably never happen. It counts on a double failure, both a failure of the primary attitude indicator and a failure of the transfer over to the secondary. But if in case that ever happens, or if there's some partial failure, you can flip that red button and it will transfer the data. Now let's discuss the features on the second instrument, which is normally the DG or HSI. You can see here that it is aligned and it has got a green needle, which means it's tracking VORs. Now you see it says localizer because we've got a localizer frequency tuned into the Garmin. And along with the localizer, you can see the lateral and the vertical deviation displays. If you want to change the heading on the pointer, you select course and that moves the green selector needle. If you want to change the heading on the little blue bug, you select heading by pressing it, and that changes the cursor for the blue bug. You'll notice over here on the primary, when you change the heading on the secondary, it also changes the heading on the primary. If you want to go from VOR nav to GPS nav, select the CDI needle. You see how it transfers over to purple. That indicates that you're tracking GPS courses. Right now we're in the hangar and we can't set up a GPS course to display this, but it works as the Garmin 430 traditionally will work. Again, we go from GPS to VOR nav by selecting that center CDI button. The OBS button on the Garmin no longer does anything. This button is just an op. If you set in a localizer or a VOR frequency, it will display that over on the OBS head. The old round OBS head will no longer display any GPS data. It's for VOR and localizer nav only. You could have GPS data here and VOR or localizer data there if you wanted to. The secondary gauge has multiple functions. The large knob, if you rotate it once to the right, you get a map mode that will show geographic information. You see it's on the 1,500 foot scale. Press that and you can dial it farther in or out. Goes all the way down to 500. And it's what they call a smart taxi feature. You can see there's taxiway alpha, and as the airplane moves around the airport, it displays the taxiways and runways. Moving it back counterclockwise, one switch position, you go to the VOR HSI mode. Moving it a third way to the left, counterclockwise, it goes to the attitude indicator. Far left, attitude indicator. Middle position, traditional HSI. All the way to the right, HSI with enhanced ground proximity. If you zoom it farther out, you see you get a better view of the airport. Even more. There's the local highways. Starting to see some Class B indication in the interstates. As you can see, these gauges have many functions, but they're also very easy and intuitive to operate. I encourage you to spend some time on the ground learning the gauges before you go flying. I hope this helps, and everybody enjoy flying the T-34 with our new gauges. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.